So porn in the UK is about to face yet another round of censorship, this time under the guise of Think of the Children, which is one of the more popular excuses for stopping people from having fun, isn't it? So the government's brought in new rules, following on from previous changes to pornography laws that have fucked over a lot of female directors, actually, like Pandora Blake, who create kind of niche fetish stuff. But anyway, now they're going to require proper age verification for all porn sites. So from next year, I believe in April, when you go to somewhere like Pornhub or RedTube or wherever else, you're now going to need to confirm your age. Not just tick I'm over 18, which is what happens on most adult sites already, but no, you're going to have to actually confirm, and this is probably going to be via a credit card check. So why is this a big deal? It's a big deal because now suddenly you've got a much bigger footprint. You're no longer anonymous. You know, you're using a card, whether it's yours or not, which will then be associated with that website. A charge will appear on your bank statement, possibly under a cover name, but it's still going to appear there. And so you're traceable. Your spouse, your partner, or the government or the bank can now see who you're spending money on, and can possibly treat you accordingly. Now, this has been a problem in the past for various sites. People who've been associated with sites usually working on them have had bank accounts denied and so on. Yeah, there's precedent for companies passing judgment on people who are associated with these sites, and this could now be extended to people who consume the material on those sites. It also makes further censorship much easier. The government could say to, credit processing companies, okay, we don't want you to allow transactions on these sites, and so you would be completely barred from access, and so on. Of course there's ways around this. There's proxies and all the usual kind of stuff that you can get around it with, and plenty of stuff gets reposted on other sites. There's porn all over Tumblr and wherever else you want to go looking for it, and it's very unlikely that those sites are going to have to institute the same kinds of controls. So you're going to end up with a kind of two-tier thing. But really what the problem here is the potential for future censorship, especially given the track record of the current government on this, particularly if you're into anything niche or a little bit kinky. Now, there was a commentary article about this in The Guardian by Christina Patterson, but it reads much more like something out of the Daily Mail. It's just full of the usual porn myths and so on. I mean, it's talking about the consequences of porn, and talking about how children are thinking that violence and screaming are a normal part of sex, and people are trying to copy what they've seen and so on. Well, this is a condemnation of our sex education, not a condemnation of pornography. Leaving it to pornography to educate people about sex is like leaving action movies to educate people about violence. It's just stupid. Have better sex education, that's the answer. But even so, if we look to social consequences, I mean, sexual assault and rape has dropped off a cliff since the mid-90s, which is when wholesale access to pornography kind of came in across Western nations. So correlation is not causation, but you would think that if porn genuinely caused this kind of horrendous behaviour and so on, or twisted people's minds, then we would see an increase. We don't. We see a catastrophic decrease in these kinds of things. So the social argument really just doesn't hold any water. And if it's causing problems in relationships and so on, I don't think that's just down to pornography. With access to the internet, our dating pool is now global. People are more likely to find people that they're more compatible with and so on outside of their normal social circles. There's less reason to compromise. I don't think this is anything to do with pornography. I just think it's to do with how broad and wide our social circles are, how much more of a choice that we have in the people we end up with as partners. That's just that's a state of communication. It's not a state of porn. And if pornography is causing problems in relationships, and it seems to be helping relationships as much as it's hindering them, this seems to me to be a result of exactly the kind of shaming that the writer engages in here. If there was less shame, if we could all be more open about the sex and stuff that we like, and didn't make a big deal about looking at pornography or whatever, then people would get on better. Surely you can see parallels to this in post-abortion activities and mental issues that people have in countries with extremely high levels of shaming around abortion, such as the United States. Mental issues, depression, all those kinds of things are way higher than they are in nations where there isn't the same kind of social shaming, like mainland Europe and so on, where it's seen as acceptable and normal and necessary. So if you remove the shaming culture around porn, I think you'll remove a lot of these issues that people have. And the kink shaming in this, I mean, this is The Guardian. It's meant to be left-wing, it's meant to be liberal, it's meant to be open-minded, and yet she doesn't seem to understand that quite a lot of people like a bit of slap with their tickle. It's just, it doesn't say anything about you. It doesn't twist people or warp people. The evidence is that twisted people are attracted to this kind of stuff, as well as non-twisted people. But it doesn't make them into sadists or whatever. Indeed, there's some evidence that this kind of pornography provides an outlet for people who might otherwise seek to act out in the real world. It scratches that itch for them, and maybe at least delays, if not completely stops them doing something horrible in real life. So that's two bonuses, really. I mean, all of the excuses for this make no sense. Yeah, children shouldn't be able to access this kind of content, but at what cost are you willing to work to try and prevent them getting access? Are you willing to censor people? Are you willing to make people vulnerable? Are you willing to allow the government, which may change its mind about what constitutes pornography or constitutes extreme pornography, on a whim? Are you really willing to allow them this amount of power over you? I don't know that there's any way to stop this, but in the future we're probably going to have to fight very hard to stop this kind of thing being extended. I mean, just go and look up the kinds of categories of thing that they've already banned from being produced in the UK. Look at the kind of things they wanted to ban back when it was David Cameron, or they wanted to control back when it was David Cameron, and then come back and tell me this is harmless and it's just for the sake of the children. Zang. Old Fat Punks is part caper, part comedy, part nostalgia and part commentary. It follows three aging punks as they build themselves up for one big, nihilistic last hurrah. You can buy Old Fat Punks at Amazon, Drive-Thru Fiction or Lulu.com. Follow the links below or search on those sites.